In a major decision, the United States President Donald Trump has ordered federal prosecutors to push for death penalty in cases where undocumented immigrants are involved in serious crimes. Let me tell you, this is one of many executive orders that Trump has signed, and it's the first day of his second term. The new rule asks the Justice Department to focus on two types of cases. A. Crimes where a law enforcement officer is murdered, and B. Cases where the death penalty is an option and the accused is undocumented. Trump also wants state government to follow the same policy. But why is this controversial? Let's talk about that. Experts say that this policy is more about creating fear among undocumented rather than actually reducing crime. According to a law professor, most murders in the United States are committed by their own citizens and not undocumented immigrants. However, Trump's push for harsh punishments for undocumented immigrants has been a key part of his agenda. Do you remember, during his first term, he restarted federal execution after 17 years pause, carrying out 13 executions, the most by any US president in over a century has did. In contrast, former President Joe Biden tried to stop federal execution, and he even commuted the sentence of 37 people on death row. Now, the question is, does this make the US safer? Well, many legal experts say that this new policy is kind of unnecessary. Research has shown that undocumented immigrants commit crimes at a very low rate than the US citizens themselves. According to a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, there is no concrete evidence that undocumented immigrants increase crime in the communities where they live. In fact, only 103 non-citizens were on death row at the end of 2024, and that too in comparison to over 2,300 people sentenced to death across 26 states. On the other hand, legal experts have also warned that this policy could be unconstitutional as well. The Supreme Court has ruled that the death penalty must not be used unfairly among certain groups. Another professor at Lewis and Clark Law School says that targeting undocumented people in this particular way makes the policy look more like a political agenda than an actual crime-fighting strategy. Similarly, a civil rights attorney says that Trump is using the idea of an invasion to justify tougher law on immigrants. Apart from all these details, it is also argued that immigrants already face discrimination in justice system. A study found that Texas and California gives harsher sentences to immigrants than the US citizens, even when they have the same criminal history. There has also been cases of wrongful conviction where innocent immigrants were sentenced to death. Let me give you an example now. Clemente Aguirre was wrongly convicted of murder in Florida and spent around 14 years on death row before being freed back in 2018. Sad, right? Another question: how Mexico and other countries are responding? That's the issue now. Mexico has strongly opposed the United States using death penalty against Mexican citizens. The Mexican government has been fighting these cases for a decade now, and they have 92% success rate in overturning death sentences for Mexican nationals. Back in 2004, the International Court of Justice ruled that US violated international law by not allowing Mexican citizens on death row to speak to their consulates. Now, shedding some light on Indians. Then for Indian migrants in the US, this policy is not expected to directly impact legal professionals and students. However, the broader anti-immigrant sentiment could lead to stricter policies on visas and legal migration. India and the US have a very strong relationship, specifically in fields of technology, healthcare, and education. Any policy that targets immigrants unfairly could actually hurt Indian professionals that are working in top US companies. Here is the final thought now. Trump's death penalty order appears to be more about sending a political message than actually solving a crime problem. Research shows undocumented immigrants are not responsible for more crime. Third point, legal experts warn that this policy may be unconstitutional. Fourthly, Mexico and other countries strongly oppose this particular move. And at the end, for Indian professionals, students and legal migrants, the biggest concern is whether this anti-immigrant stance will affect legal visa program in long run or not. As always, stay informed and prepared is the key.